Hi there, and welcome to the community YouTube channel. Please make sure to subscribe and check out the little notification bell because we give good learning content every week. My name is Kate Bonifaz, and I'm going to be your host today. And the purpose of today's live stream is going to be to go over the 24.3 release, specifically how it relates to you guys, the devs. I see that the chat's already going, so please introduce yourselves. Maybe say where you're from. Let's get that chat going. I'm joined today by two very special guests. I have product managers Alex and Juliana. So welcome on, guys.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, now let's get to know all of us here. I think we're kind of new faces to the channel. I'll start and then I'll pass it over to you, Alex. Again, I'm Kate Bonifaz. I'm a product evangelist here at Appian, although previously I was a technical instructor where I would teach new hires, maybe some other people, how to use the product. That's kind of my history with Appian. Alex, how about you?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Ledoux. I am the group product lead for our Discovery and Insights group, which works on Process HQ. I've been at Appian for about 7 years and have worked on lots of areas of the product. So I've worked on sale components, the expressions language, mobile app, portals. So I've seen a lot of stuff and really relate to the dev community. So I'm excited to be here to talk to you guys today.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Juliana, how about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Juliana Kuch. I'm a senior product manager at Appian. I've been at Appian for almost 3 years. I'm getting there to my third year. I've worked with portals, with UI components, and more recently joined the case management studio team. I'm really excited to be here today, my first live stream.
Awesome. Yeah, these two really have a wealth of knowledge, especially in things, like Case Management Studio, Process HQ, which we'll talk about later in the live stream. But yeah, before we get started, I just want to, again, mention the chat. If you have any questions at any point during the stream, put them in there and I will try to address them as soon as it makes sense. Okay, so without further ado, let's hop into it. All right, so you should be able to see this expression rule on my screen. This expression rule is specifically one that calculates emissions due to shipping-based things. Right on the segment, you'll see my rule input has a segment. You may notice that this object looks a little familiar. It's the Net Zero Carbon app. But the main thing I want to highlight this morning are in the test cases. So in a previous release, we were able to generate test cases. However, what's new in this release is that it supports more complex data types like record types. And so once this loads and I'm able to click into it, we'll actually be able to see that there should be a record type in a rule input, and you can also see it in the rule or in the expression output. Look at that. All right, let's see what we have. As you can see on this top, unfortunately, yes, we did get a bunch of errored ones, which hasn't happened to me in the past day, but here we are. We have a record type in the test input. Beautiful. All right, I'm actually going to hop over to the next bit, unless anyone has any comments or questions. Okay. This next one is our order status record type, and what you're probably guessing is the status record type is a reference record type. And so what we want to show in this is the data preview tab. The data preview tab is new in this release, and there's essentially two things that I want to highlight. So if you look, I have 18 different rows of data, and all of the statuses look pretty good, except for that last one. So I'm actually going to hit this new edit button, and I'm going to get rid of the gibberish on the end. When I hit apply changes, we'll see a card pop up at the top, and I can choose to edit it again. I can choose to hit the X to completely erase the changes that I've made, or I can hit this write changes button to actually write it to the database without me having to go to the database, input data, come back, sync my record. All of this is done in one nice action. Alternatively, I can also add rows, but first, let's actually write these changes. And I don't want to download the script. Not this time.
But we did make it handy.
It is handy, yes. All right, now I am going to add a new row. And again, there are so many statuses, so I had to really rack my brains for a good one. Let's say that your package or whatever you're ordering has gone missing. Okay, I'm going to put this as the 18th one. I'm going to make the color ID 2. Notice you can add another one, but I'm just going to add this one as is. And you'll see that the experience is nearly identical to what we just saw, except in the ID column, we have the new tag. But similarly, I'm going to write my changes. And again, no database script, please. And they have been successfully written. And I can actually prove this too in this status dropdown. Okay, I shouldn't have this going on. So if I refresh, I can now see it's there. And I have my new missing one as well. Awesome. Last but not least, I do want to say you can still generate sample data. And then once that data is there, you can do the same process where, again, you don't have to go to the cloud database to really do anything too crazy. Okay, awesome. Juliana, any thoughts on that? I know you kind of had a hand in this.
Yeah, we're really excited about this one, especially for small things like reference data or lookup data like statuses, priorities, not having to go into the database to make these changes. Maybe it's just as simple as a typo. You might want to just like switch that over here. And another thing about that grid on top, that little card that shows the changes you made, one of the purposes of that is here you can make changes one by one. But you might want to download just one script for all of this. So you were doing one by one, so as you wrote, so you didn't want to download that script. But if you had accumulated like maybe 3 or 5 changes, you could get just one script for all of these. If you need those values in your higher environments, which you imagine like status priorities might be something that you do want to deploy to the next environment. So that SQL script is handy there.
Yeah, great. Additionally, one thing that I meant to mention before, this isn't a replacement for, like larger data manipulation, but it's really handy, especially for these, reference tables. Yeah, we also, let's see, I see a question in the chat. Can I update the generated sample data? Juliana, you want to address that?
Yeah, you can. After you generate your sample data, you refresh this, your grid will have that sample data in. And sometimes it's looking pretty good, but you're like, well, this one I actually want to change. So you could just click on that edit icon for the role that you want to change, and you can update that.
Awesome, great. Now, I think this is a nice feature. I was particularly excited when it came out because, yeah, going to the cloud database and then resyncing, it's kind of annoying. And then when I was teaching new learners, just having to navigate away from any type of designer and then back and then making sure to click this button there and there, it was a little complicated for newer people. So very exciting feature. All right.
Sorry, one more thing on this.
Yeah.
We did expand the grid. It used to show 60 rows, previewing 60 rows from your data source. Now we expanded to 1,000, which is not as much as what Appian can handle as a whole, but it's just that because it's a preview grid, we try to find a good balance of like what is helpful for developers to see here, while also not compromising performance, and just especially with the focus on the lookup data kind of use case. 1,000 should be more than enough, but it should cover some of your other like just the sanity check for before syncing, that kind of thing. So the preview grid was improved as well.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Okay, I think we have exhausted our order status record type, so I'm now going to move to my order submission record type. Again, the order status record type was a reference table, whereas this order submission, as you can see from this data model, is more robust. It has its own set of data and then many relationships to other records as well. And so the feature that I want to show now is in this new sync filters. So if I click into this, I actually see my pre-existing sync filter, and I can add a new one. Let's say completed on, and I'm going to go with yesterday, beginning of the day. The main thing that we're showing here is just this new experience, right? There are some sleek card layouts and some renaming and In general, it's supposed to be a better experience for you devs. Anything else on that, Juliana, Alex?
I think
Yeah.
the renaming. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, sync filters are a really powerful feature, not just for, narrowing down data that you have in the database for, size limits or things like that within record types, but I think they're really powerful if you're taking in data from another system or working with data that you want to report on or analyze, especially in Process HQ. We've seen them to be a really powerful thing. So having an easier experience here for setting up those filters is really exciting for us to see.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just wanted to touch on the renaming because that used to be the source filters. So I think people already figured it out, but just to clarify that.
Good call out. Awesome. Okay, the next bit is a similar thing. Well, it's not similar in that it does the same thing, but it's similar in that we have a new refreshed user experience. And so I now have clicked into the record level security tab, and I have the chef's kiss beautiful experience of being able to reorder my rules just by dragging and dropping. My friends, I get so excited with a good drag and drop. Now, obviously, there are times and places where you would want to reorder your rules, and while that was, you were able to do it before, and you may need to do it for priority, or maybe it's like a performance-based thing. Some of these criteria may take more resources than others. It boils down to this drag and drop ease of reordering things. And as always, we have our disabling to make sure that you have the right rules active. Because sometimes you may want to get rid of one for a while and then bring it back. Yeah, cool. Anything else on that?
Big fan of all these quality of life improvements for developers.
Yes.
Ordering, dragging, dropping, everything. It just makes using Appian a better experience. So.
Definitely. Okay, great. Now I'm going to move into my little group tab here for threaded comments. So in the past, and pretty recently, to be honest, we got the functionality to have this nice comment feed through our record events, right? I know in the past when I taught some courses, we may have built our own record type specifically for comments, and then that was its own relationship and whatnot. But now, again, in recent releases, we were able to use commenting in record events, and in this release, we can actually thread comments as well. And so I have 3 different places I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you on the front end. I'm going to show you how to configure it in the record types. And I'm also going to show it to you on the interface, just so you know where exactly to configure and maybe how to adapt it. If you've already done record events in the past and you want to update to this, or maybe you haven't used record events and then you generate it, spoiler alert, you'll be good to go if you just generate it. But yeah, I'm going to pause though. Alex, do you want to give any other background on record events or the relevance to devs or anything?
Yeah, for sure. Record events are really exciting for us. I think, this is a long time request that we've heard around making the experience for tracking things that are happening within your processes inside of your applications. And we're continuing to build on that base of record events to make it easier to track those ad hoc things that are happening through comments, through collaboration in the application, as well as those system things that are happening behind the scenes. So record events is not only a helper in terms of the data model that you set up for the tracking those events, but you also get really easy to use UI functionality here. So in this example here with the event stream, this is a UI that you get for free. You just drag and drop that on the UI and it looks great out of the box. Not a lot of configuration for you to have to tweak, spacing, sizing, all that kind of thing to make the data model work here. This is something that's provided out of the box. So we really want to see this all over the place within applications because we've already seen a lot of the value, not only for understanding where something is in progress while users are using the application. But as you eventually use this in Process HQ to analyze your processes, using record events is going to make that incredibly easy for those analysts to get started.
Yeah, woohoo! Yeah, giving some little sneak peeks and other stuff we're going to talk about. Great. Perfect. And as there's more comments, Alex, feel free to hop in. I'm going to just start with some of the more demo-based things. First, we'll look at this site page that we have here for eco-friendly IT solutions. And as you'll notice, check it out, guys. We have our nice pane layout going on. All right, on the left here is just my basic summary view for this IT solutions. And then on the right, as Alex mentioned, I have this comment feed. And you'll notice at the top, I actually have the option to click into show replies, which has a number that shows the threaded comments. And if I click into adding a reply, you'll see we also have rich text options for commenting, as well as potentially tagging people in the comment too. So this really just, levels up your ability to comment and communicate within your applications. Cool. I'm going to now hop over to the record type so that we can kind of see some of the background things, for us devs. The first place you're going to want to go is to the Events tab. That's where you configure your record events. And you'll notice here that, this is everywhere where we set things up. If you hadn't previously configured record events at all, there would be a button for you to actually just generate your record events, and it would create these 3 for you. You will have to do a couple things to make sure that it's doing exactly what you want, but you will inevitably have these 3. But if you had previously made record events, you likely will not have this new reply thread record type. But luckily, it's very easy to make and configure. If I go into this edit button, you'll see that, again, you should have these top 2 things already. And then this bottom one is where you'll have to configure it after you make the reply thread record type. So I'm going to hit cancel for a second, and I'm going to actually open up my campaign reply thread, where we can see that it really is just a couple of fields that are really easy to make. So again, if you hadn't already had the reply thread record type generated for you, you can easily make it, connect it through relationships, and then configure it here so that it's ready to go and ready to use. Cool. So that's the record type side of things. Now let's look at the interface itself. As Alex said, we have this event history list field that now includes commenting. And if I scroll down, the threaded part of this is literally as easy as a checkbox to allow the threaded conversations. And I'll just point out, because it's relatively new, you also have options to have other people be mentioned in your comments, to be tagged, and other details. There's just lots of different things you can play with in record events that is very useful and makes things very clear for your users. Okay.
Yeah, this is an area that's really exciting with an interface designer. Over the years since I started, we've made a lot of improvements to the kinds of configurations that you can have within design mode of your interface. So this is a great example of one where it's really powerful to be able to set up this component with pointing and clicking with those different configurations. And we give you a lot of options within here, but it's all quick to change and see what that looks like in the UI. And the amount of work, if you've been developing for a while, the amount of work that this is saving you. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, 100%. I would give that, especially like new developers can easily learn this, and like our experienced developers can easily work this into what they are, doing. Okay, awesome. I'm going to now collapse this group because we're done with the threaded comments and move to my fancy inbox. Now, if you guys are somewhat familiar with the templates that your new interface designer pops up with, there actually is a newer inbox option that displays the pane layout, but we have a new feature this release where you can actually embed your pane layout into a header content layout. So I'm actually going to click into the header layout so we can kind of see how things are configured here. If I go to the header content layout section, we see we have a billboard, and then we have 3 different cards. And then finally, in the actual contents itself, we have pane layout. So that's awesome. I'll just, demo here a little bit. I can scroll on either side. And yes, that header content layout will stay put. Well, it depends if you have the checkbox to have it, fixed in place. But in general, though, we have it inside of the header content layout. The second feature that this interface is displaying are these cool tags up here. And so this is one of the ways that this specific interface differs from the pattern that you guys have, or the template that you guys have. And so if I click on one of these, this interface will dynamically update the list on the left so that all the tags that are important it'll filter down to that on this left side pane. And also note that if I click a tag in the email themselves, it will also update it, which is really cool. Any other insights on this those two features, guys?
Those are very exciting ones, and really responding to developer feedback here. Pane layout was launched, and it was one that's highly awaited. And then the next thing, of course, that people wanted was the ability to put something on top of the panes, and this is responding to that. Tags was also already something that we had in the platform, but the types of links you could use was limited. And as people were starting to build more sophisticated contents, or cards where you have these tags that represent categories or things like that. Unlocking the other kinds of links that you can use in other places was key, was the feedback that we got. So we're excited for those.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really speaks to my heart when we can take feedback and then turn it around into, feature updates that people grow to love. One thing I did not do with these tags, though, that I forgot, is to actually show you where it is in the actual component itself. So if I click into this tags field, you'll notice I have a for each statement. It's just iterating through this list of the different tags that I have. If I drill down into the tag component itself, you'll now see that I have a link parameter. And it's as easy as configuring any other dynamic link. Cool. All right. Then moving on, I'm going to hop over to my next tab, which is the basic designer. Wow! What I want to demonstrate, though, is the new experience when making a new AI skill. So right off the bat, you can kind of see the difference. We have some cards, we have drop downs. If you have been keeping in the know with our AI skills, you know that less than a year ago, we rolled out 3 AI skills. And then we just kept building and building and building. And so since we have so many options now, it's great that we have these drop downs to make our lives a lot easier in trying to pick exactly the right one we want. So since it's going to kind of tie into our later content, I'm actually going to do a text summarization one. And I'm not going to be very creative here. I'm just going to call it text summarization. If I can type right. Summarizes text. All right, I'm going to create, this is, your normal, it seems like the normal UI for creating an object, except again, we had that nice card experience. It'll open up as your normal AI skills have, and you can configure as normal from here. I personally love these AI skills in that they have like prompts already there for people who may not be as familiar. So maybe if you haven't played with AI skills, take it out for a test drive. Alex, Juliana, anything else on that new experience or AI skills in general?
Yeah, I mean, AI skills are a really, really powerful tool that we're really excited to see how people can take advantage of. But I think this change that we've made to the creation experience just really highlights kind of the aspect of AI, which is it can be used for so many different things, and kind of understanding the best ways to apply it can be challenging. So, this is intended to help you understand, the type of goal you have, how you can use AI to achieve that. And you'll see, once you create those, we give you a prompt ahead of time that follows best practices for how to write prompts. You'll see links in our documentation for how to write good prompts and how you can take advantage of things like temperature and examples to use AI to help you and really use it as a co-pilot for your users and their applications.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So I'm glad Alex kind of talked there, because the next section is kind of his wealth of knowledge. We're going to pop into our Process HQ section here. Process HQ isn't brand new, but it's growing in popularity, and we're making it more intuitive, making it easier to access. And so the first thing that I'm going to show you is really, as a developer, what do I have to do in my application to enable Process HQ so that we can use it as intended. I would say one of the most important parts is to make sure that whatever record type you want utilized, you need to have your data steward role enabled in the security. But Alex, can you give more context and maybe the different roles and how they might apply to our developer community?
For sure. So yeah, if you've learned about Process HQ, we've introduced a few new roles to help facilitate using Process HQ in production. Process HQ is meant to be a tool that analysts and end users can access in production to get access to that data, drive towards insights, answer questions that they have without having to involve as much back and forth on creating a specific report and changing names to fields to things as they're doing investigations. So we're giving those end users a lot of access in production, which means, like everything else in Appian, we want to make sure you're doing that securely. So we've created this new role called the data steward that you can set up on your record types that allows that role to better control who gets access to specific data in production, who can use it to analyze. So you'll set that up on those individual record types here, but that data steward, it could be one of you as a developer acting in your production environment, might be someone else in your organization. But the developer role specifically here too on record types is really key to enabling use of Process HQ. There's a lot you can do on the record types themselves and the data that you're collecting with record events that we'll touch on that is very important during the development stage to make sure that you enable this kind of open exploration later on.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm going to do a sanity check and make sure that I'm in the data stewards group. Beautiful, I am. And so with that, I'm going to go over to our nice Process HQ interface or site, right? This is kind of the landing page that I have. I will give a spoiler alert. I'm part of the data steward group, not data governors yet. And so I'm going to show you kind of some of the experiences I can do there. And then I will add myself to the data governors group to show kind of one of the newer updates for them too. So the first thing that I want to do is curate and prepare my process data. If I actually drill into one that I had already initiated, it's going to assemble my data. And I can see all of the data and like all the different aspects to the process that I may have needed. I'm actually going to go back to the home. Okay. Let's see. We want to be able to filter our data appropriately. And so
yeah, if you just open up the process we want to look at here, we can use the gear menu inside of it to edit it. So at the top right.
There we go. Whew!
At the top right of the page, we have our process configuration. So if we click edit process there, that's where we can, as a data steward, we have access to manipulate the data that's coming into this process from those record types.
Perfect. Thank you. If I go to filter data, this is one of the newest things. Alex, any info on that?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited about the kinds of capabilities you have as a data steward to set up these processes. So filters are a great way to, partially secure the data that you want analysts to have access to here for analyzing these processes, but also if you just want to clean up the data that's coming in for analysis purposes, you can understand how sometimes all the data we're logging might be a little bit noisy. So we might want to reduce it to, a smaller set of cases or processes that we're looking at here. So having these filters available in production to make these changes here is really powerful, so that you aren't having to go back to the development environment to make those changes and wait for deployments back to production. This is all live things that you can do in production to the process so that those analysts can quickly get access to things, because maybe that comes up as they're starting their analysis and there's a little bit of a back and forth there.
Perfect. Great. Yeah, so I played around with the filter as he was kind of talking, and it's really intuitive, I think, where, you just click filter data, you can add your filter, and then you can also hit the X here. It'll go away, and then, you can go in and just keep re-adding it as needed. But it's really intuitive and easy to do. Great. The next feature then is to add a custom attribute, but adding a custom attribute itself is not brand new. We had these top three before. The newest one is actually this find and replace feature, which is really cool. And so it gives you an example, and you can hit next, and then you can, as you would imagine any find and replace feature would, you would select the field you want and then actually type in what you want to find and what you want to replace with, and then you can test it and move on. Insights there, Alex, while I kind of play with it?
Yeah, so custom attributes are another thing that we're really excited about here in that you have access to in production when you're making processes. Again, it's something that you can quickly iterate on and take the data that you have in those record types and create versions of that data that are maybe better for analysis. So for here, for find and replace, we can clean up the data. We can, if say we had activity names that maybe were a little messy when we originally logged them, we can clean those up here so that the analysis experience is better. But all of this is pretty similar to how you might have used custom fields on record types before. So we're trying to create a very similar experience here. But the key advantage here is that you can, again, make these in production. You don't have to wait to go back to the record type, the underlying record type itself to make those changes. You can just add these to the process definition itself. And then you'll have access to those as an analyst when you're using the process here.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I know that with my dev experience, I always loved the custom record fields. That's kind of how my brain kind of equates this, but I'd like to think it's somewhat similar where, we can add a custom thing for people to, draw their attention to, so that people have the data they need for what they need at a glance, right?
Yeah, exactly. I see we got a question about using expressions and filters. So that's not possible today right now, but what we're trying to highlight here is the ability to do a lot of this with no code. So everything that you're doing here in production is a no code configuration for filters, for custom attributes. And we've expanded a lot on kind of what you can do no code with custom record fields as well. So definitely check it out. I think you'll be surprised at the power that you can get here with no code.
Definitely. Cool. All right. Again, I'm a data steward right now, so I'm going to show the data catalog and the data governance pages as a data steward first, and then I'm going to hop over to my data governor bit. And so in the data catalog, these are all of the data sets that I can see personally. And then if I go to data governance, then I can see, maybe what's relevant to me. But there's no actionable things here. And so if I actually go to my data governors group now and add myself, hopefully I can spell my own name right. Nice. Okay, and I go back and refresh. Then we'll see a major update here for our data governors. This is one of the release features where we can choose to let a data or record type show up in the data catalog. And we also have these nice buttons at the top where we can manage data stewards. So I can add a data steward. I can also choose to select multiple and show in the data catalog, or if they're already showing in the data catalog, I can hide them from the data catalog too. And I don't know, Alex, this just seems like a really nice, convenient thing for our data governors.
Yeah, you'll definitely see a trend in the features that we're working on here within Process HQ to really empower users in production here. So for our data governors that are controlling overall access to a lot of this data within the space, this access to enabling whether a record type shows up in the data catalog or not is, as we just saw, they're very simple to quickly enable or disable that here. And that enables you to not have to go back to the underlying record type itself. But as the developer too, you can also, configure that checkbox on the record type itself while you're building the application. So that way, when you deploy it to production, it's already available there for users. But governors also have access here to change that or to additionally add it for existing record types that are already on the system if you recently upgrade to 24.3 or 24.2.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, last bit in Process HQ, and then we'll get into some fun with case management. I have a brand new type of report, the scatter chart. Now, for us devs, we know that in Designer and whatnot, we've been able to configure all these different types of charts and KPIs, but this is brand new to Process HQ, and really, it's a really nice signature experience. I think I'm not like the guru in Process HQ. I would say that's Alex, right? But it was really easy for me to just go in and find the data I needed and then configure it how I want it to display on the right here. And we have this nice grid with data as well at the bottom. But again, Alex, I'm going to pass it back to you. How
Yeah.
does it make devs' lives easier or whoever's lives easier? What's nice about this?
For sure. So yeah, one of the biggest reasons we've built Process HQ is to empower end users to get answers to questions they have about their data and their processes. And building reports like this allows those end users to answer the questions themselves that they have about the data that otherwise today might be a request in your system to build a new chart for them and then publish that, and then when they look at it they realize actually it'd be better if I grouped by this, or if we renamed that column to this so that that shares better when I share that with someone else. And all of that is available to the end users here. So the important piece for developers here is really that it allows you to focus on other parts of development within the application, whether it's continuing the process, building more functionality within it, but also with enabling a lot of this, there's a lot you can do on the record types themselves to make it easy for end users to use this data. So, setting up friendly names for these fields and descriptions on those record types, which was functionality released in 24.2, as well as, all of the kind of data model stuff you can set up with record relationships, with the sync filters that we've just talked about. There's a lot you can do on the developer side to kind of curate the data and make it easy for these end users to be able to build these charts. But scatter chart is just one new way of visualizing data that answers questions that those other kinds of charts couldn't before. So we're really excited that this is now available here to help answer those questions.
Definitely. And I love that feature that you just mentioned where when you're creating your record type or maybe updating it, I love when anybody can just walk up and read something and be like, oh yeah, no, I know what that means, like that makes sense. Whereas maybe before, just record fields, okay, they're in a weird case, or maybe they're not as intuitive, but just having that real verbiage there for people to understand right from the get-go, lovely.
Yeah, sometimes you got to translate the dev jargon into something that most users can understand.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So that wraps up my little Process HQ section. So thank you, Alex. I'm going to now pop over to Juliana's expertise. Okay, and Alex, if you have anything to say about CMS, please hop in. But
Sure.
I'm going to defer to Juliana here. So do you want to first give any background to case management and its relationship with devs before I go into some of the cool things?
Yeah. One of the things that Alex mentioned that I want to tack on is this idea of more no-code power. And I think Case Management Studio also, we're going with this idea of more no-code power, empowering business users to do more. But also, we are always keeping the low-code developer in mind because even as a low-code developer, you're empowering your business users, but you also want to know what's going on. You're still responsible in the Case Management Studio, at least to deploy that application to the higher environment. In Case Management Studio, your business users are still working in the development environment. So we definitely keep the low-code development experience in mind. But I may have jumped to the low-code dev side. Overall, case management is for when you have cases where your business users should be able to configure with no-code workflows or add data fields, define different types of case intake forms, or even edit forms. So all of these configurations you can allow your business users to do while you're adding some more. You as a developer here in the audience, you're doing some complex work like integrations and that kind of thing. And we keep expanding the capabilities of Case Management Studio, and we'll see some of them in this demo.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. The three that I selected kind of show you devs, really kind of echo what we talked about earlier with AI skills a bit, but the third one I'm especially excited for because I think it's really neat and it has a lot of good implications for us as devs. All of them do, but I have a favorite. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, go ahead.
I think we should also mention here the different personas. Here in the workspace where we are, this is where case workers will process the cases, requests that come in. So if you have payment not received kind of request. This is where the caseworker comes in and sees like the information about it. They can create ad hoc tasks. They can send it to the next steps on the workflow, approve, all that kind of thing from this workspace that you get when you get case management. Then we'll probably pop up to Studio, and we'll talk about that other persona later. Studio will be where the business users are configuring the out of the box workflows, are configuring tasks, are configuring which data fields are important when you're capturing information about payments that were not received. And then the local developer has access to all of that and more, of course, with the local platform to extend all these capabilities.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Juliana. And I just want to make a call out here. I know that we've been dropping links into the chat. Definitely, if maybe you aren't familiar with Process HQ or Case Management Studio, go and take some of these like learning journeys, or like, maybe they're just short videos or something, and get your hands on the product to really like play with it, to experience it, because they are really, really cool things, and I think they're really going to help drive your solutions. All right, now that my mini ad is out of the way, I'm going to scroll down here to show you the first feature. This one, so again, we're looking at a case, and there's basic information, there's tasks, there's smart suggestions up at the top right, but no, that's not the AI I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you the comment summary. And so if I scroll all the way down, I can see like a whole feed of comments, and at the top we have a summary. Now this summary is a little bit more beefy, we'll say, but many of these summaries will also just have short bullet point statements to really summarize and get the bottom line up front, so that again, your users can get up to date quickly from the entire comment feed, whether it's 10 comments or if it's 100 comments or if they're threaded, right? So really cool use of text summarization from our AI skills in the case management product. Okay, next up, it's going to feel very similar, but it is different. Right now, I've moved from the summary tab of my case to the documents tab. And in this case, I have one document that has been uploaded, and at the top, you'll see a nice little card layout with a drop-down for summarizing the document. So this is a good example of the bulleted summarization, but it's really helpful because, again, this document's only 5 pages long, but it'll do the same thing for documents that are 100 pages long or even more. Although, actually, I think it will. Hey, Juliana, any comments there?
Yeah, I think one of the fun things to highlight here was that we're adding features, AI Copilot features that help with the caseworker, that help with setting up for the business user, that helps local developers. So this is one flavor of kind of caseworker end user type of AI Copilot feature to help them make sense of what they're seeing as cases grow in complexity. I think it's easier when you're jumping in, especially if you're like at step 8 out of 10, and a lot of people have added comments or added documents to your case. Being able to jump in and make sense of things quickly.
Yeah, I think you'll notice that throughout the product, where we're trying to add AI is places that really help users do their work more efficiently. So whether that's you as a developer, all the places we have AI for test cases, for generating data into your data models as you're building applications, or as end users, giving you as a developer access to AI skills to build those in for your users. So you can start to see lots of places where we're adding it, use that as inspiration, but kind of going back to one of the first things we talked about with the AI skills and all the kind of options you have in there. I think there's a lot of powerful things that you can do for your users inside of your application. So definitely take a look at that. We have great documentation on the breadth of things you can do with AI, get inspiration from that. It's an exciting new area to be using, and I think there's a lot of power there to unlock for end users who ultimately will use these applications that take advantage of AI.
100%. Yeah, and I'll take this time too to, again, bring it back to you devs. I would love to see some chats, like, what are you guys excited for? Or what are you trying to implement? Or what's on your wish list? I would love to see that kind of feedback from you guys. But I'm going to move into my last little section here. Again, I told you it's one of my favorite things. Also, queue up those questions because we're going to have our Q&A session. So should be burning questions. Get them ready. Okay, so as Juliana said before, we have many different places within Case Management Studio. Previously, we were in the workspace, and now I've hopped over to the studio itself. Uh, I'll do my little demo, and then Juliana, if you want to talk about Studio a little more or have any other insights, I'll let you tag in. But for this one, it's a really cool feature. Again, I'm going to go into this technical problems. And again, we're under case types, under problem, and then we have technical problems. For this, I'm going to go into the data tab, and you'll see that there's data types for all case stuff. There's problem data, right? So the hierarchy. I want to actually add data fields for this lowest level here. And you'll see again, we have an AI skill that it says it's going to take my natural language and it's going to turn it into, well, semi-natural language, and it's going to turn it into fields for me. So I'm going to paste in my little spiel here. So again, we're in technical problems, so I want to know who's requesting it. I want to know the hardware that is having the issue, and then I want to know maybe some issue details. And I'm going to hit generate, and we'll see what it comes up with. Hopefully I have, many different types of fields, and I do. You can see short text, long text. I think one of the most fascinating things or the coolest things is that it actually makes choice lists for me. So if I look here, I have hardware type, choice list. If I go back up to my natural language, that's where I put things in parentheses, and I had 4 options. And so if I go here and I click on this set choice values, I can actually update them if I want, or it should have them for me.
You can copy and paste them directly on that top
Right.
tab. And generate your choices.
That is true. Let me try.
And I think this one highlights a little bit of things that we've talked about. It's no code, and it's focused on the business users, so it is no code, but it also has AI to help them make good choices about the fields for things that might not be super intuitive. For example, capturing, how am I going to capture a phone number? Sometimes you might intuitively think an integer, but it'll suggest you short text. And if you hover over the sparkles, the AI gives you an explanation. So we're also giving you some transparency in how these choices are being made. Not we, the AI, we as Appian, but the explain, giving you an access to how the AI is thinking about this.
Definitely. All right, I'm gonna hit create. Oh, choice. Aha! I have to add some for the issue types. Okay, that's fine. We can add issue types. Let's see. I'm gonna put something basic like internet and device.
And this goes hand in hand with the idea of editing choice lists. Here goes hand in hand with the the reference data we talked about in Record Type Designer. So your business users can change their choice lists pretty quickly here. But you as a developer, you have access to that record that is powering these choices. And if you see something that you want to change, you can change it directly in the Record Type Designer with one of the first features we talked about today.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one other feature that was brand new is this adding multiple options to this data field as well, and the ability to mark it inactive or active as needed, which is really, really cool. All right, any other things you want to mention or note about Case Management Studio before we kind of wrap things up a little more?
I think there's so many exciting things that are coming to Case Management Studio. All of this, for this audience, we're talking about developers. We're really keeping in mind the experience here where you're empowering your business users, but you also have a lot of visibility and a lot of control and a lot of potential to expand the capabilities. So when we're talking about the new modules coming in and the new capabilities, you have that visibility and you have power to plug and play things into this underlying functionality, and also add things that are very specific to how your company or how your application needs to work, like specific integrations and all that, you have all the power that Appian gives you to expand these.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, one other thing I'll
Mhm.
add too is just to bring it back to Process HQ, like I always want to. Case Management Studio is also fully compatible with Process HQ. So everything that you're doing here, you can build reports off of that data. You can analyze the process, see how it's performing based off the process you've configured. So we've done a lot of work to make sure that that's possible here, and you have that synergy between all of these features. So that's really exciting, and you can, as a developer, extend all of that data as well to make sure that it's connected to everything else in your system. So things you build in CMS, the things that are built from other applications you've built can all be available there in Process HQ.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's go back to just us here. I'm done demoing, and let's just we'll chit chat for a minute or so while we wait for potentially questions to come in. So we'll again call out if you have any questions you want to ask. Please put it in the chat. If not, yeah, Alex and Juliana, what are you excited for coming up? Or maybe you, or maybe for devs. Yeah, while we wait for anyone to ask questions in the chat.
Yeah, I can go. I think we've talked a lot about AI here, and you've seen what we've built for developers with AI skills, but you're going to start to see a lot more AI integration across the whole platform. So more automatic features for end users, like we talked about, more capabilities for you as a developer to enable AI in your applications. We want to make sure that you feel empowered to solve the problems you have, and you use AI in the best ways that it can to help solve those problems. So I'm really excited for all the ways that AI is going to continue to be integrated into the features we work on, so that it's used in the right ways. It's used to help you solve problems quicker, and everything's been generally branded with that AI copilot or dev copilot or user copilot, and that's really because we believe that it's AI, humans working in tandem are going to achieve better things in the end. So hopefully you guys have experienced that so far with the features we've made available for developers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I've seen, or I can see the very tangible ways that, I mean, Appian saves our customers lots of time, but I think these AI skills are just going to accelerate things more and more.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Yeah, I've personally, in development I've done on our internal sites, the
yep.
feature, the generating data has been a lifesaver. When I build a demo to show off something to a customer, I love being able to generate data using AI there. It saves me a lot of time, does all the heavy lifting for me.
Yeah, I would say that even if someone hasn't like explicitly made an AI skill and implemented it in one of their applications, just some of the built-in things that we have done have, yeah, especially that data generation has just made, I think, our lives a good bit easier.
Yeah, even for the generating test simple data or just test data, it's really helpful for all these things that you need to do, but is this like you want it done for you, I think, ideally. So I think using AI in those situations it's going to be a really game changer.
Yeah. I see we have a comment in the chat about certifications. If you're new to Appian and you're curious about our certifications, we do have a page on our community site for certifications. Definitely get certified. I am senior developer certified and highly recommend our program. Okay. There's another comment / question in the chat. Alex, if you want to read and maybe address that, I think that's most related to you.
Yeah, this seems to be related to process reports specifically. I don't have the specific answer to that. We might have to follow up afterwards and get some more details from you about the problem you're running into. But yeah, I don't have specific answers to our plans to address some of that with process reports.
But we want to. Awesome. Okay, great. Any other last questions before I wrap things up? Or any comments from you, Alex or Juliana?
We're really excited about this release and can't wait to hear what people think, how they're using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to see comments about this release and what you're excited to use. Engage with us on community. I know I'm there. You might have seen my name before on community. I'm not as active as some other people that have been on here, like Peter Lewis, but I love to engage there if you've got questions. I think that's a great place for talking about the product and asking questions.
Definitely. And Alex, there's still time. You could be just like Pete Lewis.
I could. We all strive to be like Pete.
Well, I mean, I do. I know I do. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Alex and Juliana, for sharing all of your wisdom, your insight, and your excitement. For all of you devs out there, if you enjoyed this live stream, please hit that bell to subscribe, so you don't miss any updates. And I do want to announce some future upcoming live streams for you guys. The first one is next week, so in less than a week's time. I'm going to be hosting a customer called Guild Mortgage, and we're going to be going over their intern experience with Appian, especially as it pertains to a hackathon that they'll be running next week. So it'll be fresh, it'll be exciting, and it's good inspiration for maybe the younger people that you want to inspire, right? So check out that, and then another maybe more exciting thing. I think they're both equally exciting. Is upcoming in October, we have a UX Design Lab series. It's a brand new series coming out. And the short of it is you can submit interfaces ahead of time that are according to a certain theme that'll be announced in it. And we will have experts, UX experts, actually, review them, and they will select a few to go over live in the live stream, and say, oh yeah, I think this could be improved, or I've done that before. It's just a nice, good feedback example, right from us in Appian. And so, highly recommend. Again, look out for that in October. And I hope to see you next week too, and in October. But that's all that we have for today. If you have any future ideas for future live streams, please also put that in the chat, and I'll see you around. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.